So literally 2 months, I think, apart from each other, we got the Incredible Hulk right after Iron Man, and this is one that people immediately forget if they are thinking of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe canon. And it is really a shame because this is one of my absolute favorite Marvel movies in the entire MCU. I feel like this one is so immensely underrated. You could argue things about it that people think are just lackluster about it, but to me, the way that this with the score and with the acting, I think that this is the one that has the most compelling characters. I think out of all of the Marvel films, or close. Like it's up there. It is. This is in my top five Marvel movies, and I know people are going to be like, "Wow, there's so many better ones than this," because this is usually considered one of the lesser ones. But I don't care. This movie moves me so much, and it's a movie about the Incredible Hulk. That's the thing I love about this movie. And of course, we got the show before this, like, and a couple different shows, and then we got the Ang Lee Hulk movie, which I've seen once and did not care for. Just didn't understand it. It was really off. I didn't know what was going on. But you can also technically make this a sequel to that, because I think where he ends up in this movie, or starts in this movie, is where is going from the last one. So I guess you can make that connection, but like, I don't care to, because I didn't really care for the Ang Lee one. But this Incredible Hulk, in terms of the characters, in terms of all the in the Marvel universe, I feel like this is the most compelling to me because of how the story is formed. Because of showing the opening credits show with this with the amazing score. It shows these little snippets of Bruce Banner going into the machine and becoming the Hulk, and hurting Betty Ross and running away from General Ross, and with the amazing and powerful score. Like, that is, like, the score is one of my favorite scores ever. Like, literally, like, I cannot ever get it out of my head. The way that it plays at the beginning credits is amazing, and the way that it shows Bruce Banner's plight from becoming the Hulk, running away, showing Ross on, like, trying to figure out where he is, showing Betty getting fixed, or getting back to normal after being injured, showing where Bruce is going. It works really well showing him on the run while being scared at this moment, like, I've become this thing and I don't know what to do and nobody's going to help me. I'm going to get killed or experimented on if I go back to General Ross. What do I do? And I love the opening. I love how that immediately sets it up. And I love how where he is at the beginning of the movie in hiding, it really works well in showing how long he's been in hiding and showing how much, like, learning a different language, trying to control his emotions. Because if he's the Hulk. If he gets angry, he becomes the Hulk. And if his pulse goes up too high, he becomes the Hulk. And I think that it was cool in this movie too, where they showed on the screen, like, days since he became the Hulk, and it would show how many days. I thought that was really cool. And I thought that Bruce Banner in this movie is incredibly likable. Because he's literally just on the run for this reason that he can't help, and he is stuck with this disease, because he's literally can't escape this. He's always going to be on the run, because if he becomes angry, he will become this thing. And I thought that it really works well with this character because of the story inclusion of having him on the run the whole movie, having him never be safe, always showing his internal struggle while also showing his external struggle with wanting to be with Betty Ross. And Betty Ross, who Liv Tyler plays in this movie, is fantastic as well. I think that these two characters give so much sincerity and authenticity to this romance. And I'm not usually a big romantic person because I feel like in movies they just overplay it. They make it seem so fake. And I felt like these two actors in this movie did a fantastic job. Like, they really they gripped me like the whole way through, and I thought that that's a testament to me not caring that much about this type of genre. But I felt like how they were written, I felt like how the acting was, that they were so incredibly likable, and it gave me so much to care for with them, because they really sucked me in a way that I did not anticipate. And they both, like I said, are incredibly likable. The way that they both have struggles, the way that Bruce is scared to become this thing, he's on the run because of that, because Ross will take him. The way that Betty Ross is estranged from her father, who is trying to do this, and has another guy at the moment, since it's been a year or so, I think, since he's been in hiding, or maybe longer. But whenever they have their connection to each other, I think is so genuine. And there's some scenes that flat out just give me the chills. Like whenever it builds up to having Bruce talk about Betty, and builds up to him showing her, seeing her from a distance when he can't go to her because he can't be seen. And he goes to this pizzeria where he used to work at by the university, and he goes in there, and then Betty and the new guy come in, and there's a shot where Bruce doesn't know she's there, so he walks, opens the door, looks at her while she's looking at the guy like behind him, and then looks around him while Bruce Banner is there, but then he's gone whenever she looks again, and she runs out quickly, and it does a slow motion thing where she walks out and this whispers his name, and it gives me chills. And then you see from the behind the trash can, he's right there, and it gives me chills because of the thought of they are so close to each other. They care so much about each other, but then they can't be together. And the chills of him being right there and her right there whispering his name, like it gets me. It really gripped me in a way that again, just because of the acting, because of the score, it is really effective. And whenever they finally meet each other in the rain, which is a cliched thing in a romantic movie, you meet your lover in the rain, but it is effective too whenever they finally see each other again, and then she helps him out through the whole movie, and it builds again so well to the conclusion where by the end of the movie, whenever he realizes that he can't escape this, he's just going to keep being on the run no matter what. I love that idea about where they say goodbye again, and they still haven't met at all. Liv Tyler hasn't been in any of the other Marvel movies since this, and they kind of think of abandoned this storyline, but it saddens me because it really works so well. And I guess it works too if she doesn't come back. It works too on a final bittersweet, sad note where she took a picture of him earlier with the camera. She's at Liberty Island at the end of the movie while he's already escaped and ran away. And she's looking at the picture that she took of him, and then the picture, like the camera's battery dies. And then she just looks up away into the sky like this is... It felt like it was the end, and it made sense that if they don't see each other again, then I guess that's warranted, but it was just really sad and effective. I like how much that affected me in a way that I just did not think it would. And rewatching it again, of course, it still, for me, holds up and still works. I've seen this movie a lot of times, probably more than most of the Marvel movies, but their relationship is great. And William Hurt is great as General Ross. He is a great douchebag character. He is so unlikable, and he does not get redeemed. He just, the whole time, is just an asshole no matter what. And I like how much he, in his whole life since this has happened, has been trying to get Bruce Banner no matter what. And he gets so desperate that he gets a ex-military guy, I think, named Emil Blonsky, who Tim Roth plays, who's great as well. But he gets him to be experimented on and becomes the Abomination, which leads up to one of the coolest last fights in a Marvel movie, too. I love the fact that we've got two Hulks fighting against each other, and they're so evenly matched I thought that was awesome. I thought that really was such a great way to end the movie and such a cool way to have these the hero and the villain fight, even though it's not Ross, but he's using Blonsky to fight him. But Blonsky, whenever he becomes this thing, is losing his mind, so he is becoming unstoppable. And I like the fact that at the end, Bruce has to fight him. He has to. Nobody else can fight him. Nobody else can kill him. He is the one that has to do it. And that leads to one of the coolest, most badass fights out of any of the Marvel films, I think, at the end, where it's like 10 or 15 minutes long, where they're fighting, and it doesn't feel too long. It feels like it's really great length. Just, the movie, I think, is so great in terms of the characters, in terms of the score, in terms of the action. All of these things are so strong, and I think that this makes it, to me, one of the best Marvel movies, because everybody's so likable or really unlikable. And the way that the movie works in that way with the action and builds up with the story and builds up with the amazing score, it all coordinates itself in a great way. And I felt like it just really worked so strongly in that narrative. I think that it really is just such a great movie, and I love it so much, and it's never lost its flavor for me. It's always been this strong for me. I've never felt any different every time I watch it. I've always felt the same way, and I love when a movie can do that. I love whenever you can feel the same way every time. And this one I'm just so thankful it exists. I hope that we get like a Hulk movie that is a Hulk on his own, but I don't know if we're going to, because this is the one that made the least money out of all the MCU films. But we're getting Ant-Man and the Wasp, which Ant-Man was very close to this amount and didn't make that much money. It was just a little bit higher than this one. So I don't get why we're not making a Hulk sequel. But I think it's also because Universal is technically the owners of the Hulk films. Like, whenever they make a Hulk film, it'll be under Universal. So I guess that's why, but I like that Hulk is getting time in a lot of movies, whether it's Thor Ragnarok or the Avengers movies or other movies. I like that he is being incorporated, but I wish he would get his own straight up movie again. And I would like to see this continue on from the storyline from this movie, because we didn't get resolution with Tim Blake Nelson's character at all. And I thought that is still on the cutting room floor after this. Since this movie's come out, we've still have not gotten any resolution with his character, with Tim Blake Nelson. I think that's interesting, and he becomes something at the end of this movie where you're like, okay, he's going to be a villain in something else, but he's never returned. So I hope that we see him again, and I'm glad that we saw Ross in Captain America Civil War, because I like their thoughts in which they are trying to remind people that this movie exists, because Edward Norton was Bruce Banner in this movie, and then Mark Ruffalo took over right after this. So this is completely forgotten because of that fact, because people might think, oh, this is not related because it's a different actor. But sadly, like Terrence Howard, they did it to where literally after one movie they were just replaced. And I loved Edward Norton in this movie too. I thought that he was a great Bruce Banner. He was great, and he really, like I said, with all, like him and Liv Tyler, Betty Ross, they both were some of the most interesting and most emotionally like hooked characters in the Marvel Universe franchise. Like, I feel like they really did such a great job in this movie. Both of them, everybody did a really great job. I still am just still, like I said, I've never not felt any different rewatching it, and I really love this movie, and it's definitely one of my favorite MCU movies, despite what people say, and I hope people will remember it again and rewatch it again, because I think it is still fantastic.